March 7, 2023, 11:47 p.m. The night my world flipped on its axis began with one unanswered text. My best friend, Greg, was usually responsive. A quick flick of a reply was his social signature. After 2 hours of silence, I put it down to his notoriously erratic internet connection. But then his sister called. Her words spat paint across the blank canvas of my mind, wild and senseless. "Greg's in the ER. They said he died." My heart skittered at the edge of comprehension. A bare pause, then she added with a sharp intake of breath, "But he's back now. He's alive." I was headed to the hospital before her words fully registered. I knew Greg's heart wasn't the most reliable, but the idea of him flickering out, even for a moment, was incomprehensible. As I drove, the road twisted serpentine beneath a waxing crescent moon, each turn eerily drawn toward that sterile place of breathless stillness. By the time I reached the hospital, the waiting room felt like the eye of an emotional storm. I was a trembling collection of nerves held together by hope and dread. Greg had stabilized, but the nurses whispered about miracles and anomalies as I sat outside his room. It didn't sit right that my chance to speak with him was spun from sheer chance, from an equation defied. March 8, 2023, 2:45 a.m. Greg's face was pallid, as if sleep had only draped him with a thin, pale veil. Yet his eyes, usually a bright, inquisitive blue, had deepened to murkier hues. There was a haunted expanse within them, a shadow I couldn't ignore. "Hey man," I offered, trying to conceal the tremor in my voice. "Hey," he replied, the syllable a ghostly echo of its previous strength. Silence stretched between us, like an old, familiar rope grown frayed and thin. I wanted to ask what happened, but something in his demeanor kept me from pushing. He turned his gaze inward, looking past the stark hospital ceiling into a chasm only he could see. "What was it like?" I finally ventured, words tumbling awkwardly around the trepidation wedged in my throat. The dark depths of his eyes flickered momentarily toward mine. Then he looked away, lips tightly sewn, as if withholding something acid burning away within. "I can't," Greg muttered, voice cracking like splintering wood. "I'm not ready to talk about it." I nodded, respecting his boundaries despite the insistent drumbeat at the back of my mind, demanding answers. March 22, 2023. Days turned to weeks and Greg's reticence lingered. He'd withdrawn, no longer the vibrant entity peppered through my life. A funeral hung between silences when we met, the unseen whisper of absence more insistent than conversation. His family, too, wore the same cloak of discomfort. I inquired gingerly with his sister, only to receive the same fragmented reflections of an unspeakable horror left behind the veil. But I couldn't let it go. The curiosity gnawed at me, intensified by stray accounts whispered in hospital corridors and local bars. There had been talk, ripple surf movements, about others experiencing similar resurrections, yet emerging with the same agape terror locked behind shard-pierced eyes. None could express what they all seemed to share. Somewhere deep down, an uncertainty began to grow, a seed fertilized by fear of the unknown. April 10, 2023. Eventually, Greg reached out. His message was a simple, "We need to talk." I remember staring at the phone, feeling the knots of tension coiling tighter in my stomach. We met in a quiet corner of our favorite park, the tentative warmth of spring contrasting sharply with the chill encompassing our interaction. We sat in mutual trepidation. His voice broke the silence with a cadence heavy and alien. "I saw, well, nothing," Greg confessed, words staggered by the weight of revelation. Not a void or emptiness, but a conscious cease. No end, truly, just there. He paused, struggling against the invisible bindings of memory. No body, no movement, no passage of time. a suffocating awareness without breath, a prison without walls, alone. His description settled onto my skin like a brood of insects, clawing, crawling into every unguarded pore. My chest tightened, the realization merging with remembered taboo, from myth, faith, from human instinct. Death was not the respite, the oblivion, the gateway we'd universally accepted. He found a new certainty, relentless perpetuity, an endless drift without compass or care. I think part of me always knew the potential weight of such a discovery could shatter any illusion of stability I'd manufactured. But hearing it from his lips imbued it with an undeniable truth, punching a hole through every comforting narrative I'd crafted around mortality. April 24th, 2023. The more time I spent with Greg, the more it became clear that others were surfacing with the same reports. News of these cases spread like thick smoke through our interconnected lives, accounts scattered with disturbing homogeny. Each whispered the same notion, a dark epidemic festering at the edges of human experience, blurring, wiping clean all the lines we'd drawn between endings and continuation. Conversations with those who had touched death's fabric became a fog of terror. Like cracking glass, their beliefs fractured, leaving only jagged remnants to navigate the world built anew. The implications stretched horrifically across all we held dear. What became of the promises promised by religion, of rebirth, eternal reward or purge? And more daunting yet, what did eternity without essence do to the hopes, dreams, narrative arcs we desperately clung onto in life? We heard accounts piecing together unsettling similarities from various backgrounds, each independent yet collectively unveiling the same discovery. Testimony upon testimony, layered into a collective symphony of paralyzing dread. May 5th, 2023. Society teetered on the brink of unraveling, confronting a cascade of understanding that crumpled human frameworks like so much paper left in the rain. It was not a revelation of peace, of resolution, but of an unrelenting echo. Death blew back like a wild wind only to leave them adrift, undisturbed. There are no words holistically encompassing the degree of helplessness accompanying such a reckoning. Death became not an end, nor a gateway, but a continuum, an existence stripped of identity, leaving only breathless silence stretched beyond any sense of measurable reality. We live now at the intersection of fear and arrogance. Our arrogance to define the undefinable, confronted by the shrill clarity of those who danced through death's curtain bare and returned. Greg and I rarely spoke of it after those admissions. We continued, an unspoken pact transfiguring our bond into one more ravenous, a spark of understanding in our eyes even amongst unconquerable shadows. The knowledge pervades everything, our prayers, our personal rituals losing their luster hollow. It resides beneath our breaths like a remembered curse, binding us to one immutable certainty no comfort can dissolve. We are and will be always alone. In time, perhaps, acceptance may drown fear beneath waves of enduring consciousness, washing reason free of its obliterating dance. But for now, all I can offer is the silence of shared darkness and the mournful lie of a heaven undone.